Ladies and gentlemen, I am Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran, and today we're going to be taking a look at something pretty different and pretty crazy. These are intercepted Russian phone calls and radio transmissions from the front lines. We're going to be taking a look at what it feels like to be a Russian soldier. Fun fact, doesn't sound great. Now, this comes to us, of course, from a channel, Insights from Ukraine and Russia. Going to put the link in the description below. Give them a subscribe because this is some of the coolest war content that I have seen, right? We've talked a little bit about how in this conflict, there has been, it's unprecedented, the level of footage that we are getting of combat, right? In Vietnam, it was considered crazy just that there were cameramen and news reporters on the front lines at all. Now we will get firefights and operations with views overhead from helmet cams, soldier's eye view, information that we've never seen before in combat. And now we have even another look at it. This is almost real-time radio transmissions from units on the front lines. So let's take a look at what it means to be a Russian soldier. And it says this one, that he's upset with Putin. Uncle Vovka doesn't want to pay what he's promised. Let's see. Reason I'm calling you, you can congratulate me. That's a Chad move right there. I called you so you can congratulate me. It's his third birthday. Oh, he's saying, okay, this is sometimes people joke, it's like your life day when you have a really close call and you survive, you're like, wow, I feel like I got a second chance at life. So he's saying I had a third chance at life. So this dude, I think he's being a little bit of an edgelord, trolling his mom, letting him know how close he came. This is So he says the base where we were staying at got effed up completely. Guys, this is not what you do to your mom, okay, when you're deployed, right? You say nice things. You tell her that the food is decent, you tell her the food's been getting better, the weather's really hot. Some of the Afghans or the locals are pretty nice, and you keep the bad stuff out of her, because why do you want to torment your mom, right? I get it, you're 20, you know, but I was deployed, I was 24, and I had the good sense to be like, don't torment your mom. Jesus, she's already worried sick about you. Huh? Jesus Christ, man, why are you sharing this with mom? He sounds, honestly, he sounds depressed, right? Like he just wants to get it off his chest. And maybe his mom is the only person he can talk to, right? One of the things that is really different in the Russian military culture from everything I've read and all the accounts from the US is that in Russian military culture, the hierarchy is pretty extreme. Young conscripts are often mistreated by older conscripts. And by older conscripts, I mean conscripts in their second or third year of service. At a level that would be frightening to a U.S. soldier, right? So the problem is that when you have the people who are supposed to be your peers, the people looking out for you, when they are treating you with unbelievable cruelty, one of the most important aspects of soldiering, right, which is the camaraderie you have with the rest of your unit, breaks down. And I think we see this in Russian forces when you hear about this, right? Normally, you would joke about these sort of events with the other soldiers in your unit, and that would be how you cope, right? You rally together tighter and tighter as you experience more and more hardship. But if you already have a hostile relationship, again, the people in your unit are your bullies, are your tormentors. And trust me, I've seen US units that operate that way, where people in power will just coerce and manipulate and browbeat and bully the people under them. I tried my absolute best to instill a positive culture where my expectations were leaders lifted up and tried to train and empower the soldiers under them. I think the military police culture, unlike the infantry or tankers, facilitates that, right? Because every one of our individual soldiers had already proven that they can climb into a patrol car, do a DUI stop, handle a domestic disturbance, all with no input from their NCOs. So we were able to not abuse them. But if you were in a unit where your leaders are abusive, then you might not know who you can talk to about these things, just to tell these events to, just to get them off your chest. And so you might resort to calling your mom and being like, Mom, I just have to tell you this thing that happened. Yeah, running out barefoot in shorts and t-shirt, that's a universal experience. It is extremely common on forward operating bases when they get hit that you put on your helmet and your body armor and you grab your rifle and you get to a fighting position or you get to a bunker with whatever you're wearing. There's some iconic photos of soldiers wearing boxer shorts, of soldiers working out. I have definitely done a base defense operation wearing nothing but sweaty PT shirts and an IBA, a helmet, and a rifle. That poor mother. Okay, so here we are the next day. Does he call mom again? Yes, he does. Sort some things out at the prosecutor's office. Interesting. So what she is saying, this is really interesting. She said that she's talking to her son who is in Ukraine and that they went to like a local administrator's office and that according to the administrator's records, one of his fellow soldiers in his unit is in Russia. He said that you guys are both together in Russia right now. Yep. And the soldier is like, yeah, according to the official records, all of them are in Russia.
Ты находишься не в России, ты полностью в этом. Да, ну звоните Владимиру Владимировичу и также еще там собирайте вот все вот здесь, которые есть здесь.
Yeah, he's saying, you should call Vladimir Putin and find the wives and mothers of the 10,000 people who are stuck in Ukraine, that they are not in fact in Russia. And this is a problem for a bunch of reasons. Obviously, first and foremost, of course, it's Putin's special military operation. It's not a war, right? But this can have trickle-down effects. And one of the biggest trickle-down effects we've talked about in other videos is that the Russian military, like the US military, confers very generous benefits if you are serving in a combat zone. And so because, for example, I have a DD-214 showing deployment to Afghanistan, showing the Bronze Star, the Combat Action Badge, etc. That is the core document that qualifies me for my ability to receive healthcare from the VA for the rest of my life. It qualifies me for priority access to certain types of government jobs. And it also meant that while I was there, of course, I didn't have a DD-214, but the formal movement of myself, right, relocated and reassigned to be deployed in Afghanistan, that enabled me, it meant that my salary became tax-free. It meant that I drew combat pay, hazardous duty pay, and I think one other type of special pay. Oh, if I was married, it would be family separation pay. And so these series of bonuses, right, can really be a huge game changer for soldiers and their families. And so if you create this legal fig leaf that says, no, technically you were never in Ukraine, not only would you may not qualify for special or hazardous duty pay or combat pay or Russia's equivalent of it, but you may also not qualify for benefits, since how can you be a survivor of a war that you never were in, that never happened? The 20-year-old being like, write a statement or something. Why are these? Yeah, this level of deception is worrying. Guess this is a July 16th interception. He's talking to his father. Do they feed you well? Oh, amigo. Jesus. This is bold. I mean, he either doesn't realize or doesn't care that it seems very likely that these phone calls are monitored. If they're monitored by Ukraine, they are almost certainly being monitored by Russian commanders themselves. Now, the Russian commanders may just not care, right? There may just not be enough people monitoring the troops that these sort of throwaway statements are just common.
А что ваши вообще говорят, почему денег нет, что между собой может перейдете?
What do they say about your absence of money? That's a really nice euphemism for the fact that you're not getting paid. How can you get combat payouts when you're not in combat? Ooh, maximum that somebody got was the usual salary plus bonus. Well, here's the problem. In the US, actually, we, in our Constitution, say that you can petition the government for redress. That means you can sue the government and expect to get a reasonably fair trial when you say, hey, the government promised me X and they delivered Y. And we have a judicial process that in most cases is mostly pretty fair when you want to sue the government. This is why it ranges from as high as Amazon suing the government saying, hey, we think you selected our contract in bad faith. We think that we never got a fair shot to win this multi-billion-dollar contract, and we're taking you to court to make that determination, to reverse your decision. All the way down to a lowly government employee who says, hey, I actually think you fired me incorrectly. All those people have a constitutional right to petition the government when they think they've screwed up. But if that right doesn't exist, either it doesn't exist on paper or it literally doesn't exist because your country is actually an authoritarian dictatorship and the rule of law is just a fig leaf that the government can, remove at any time, then it means there's no reason the government can deceive you, right? A contract with the government isn't really a contract because the government can unilaterally renegotiate those terms at will. And this is one of the dangers. I mean, people talk about it with anytime you enlist, right? The government kind of has you. But it also is especially true in countries like Russia. Damn, 25 people in a battery. Now, Russian combat organization is different, but in the United States, a battery would be 1 to 200 soldiers. Ooh. Oh, okay. Okay, so 50. That's still a tremendous casualty rate. I don't understand it. Oh, man. Oh, boy. Can you really not understand? Can you really not understand why officially this isn't a real... This is a special military operation? Is it your first time in Russia? This is... Okay. At least he's got his sense of humor. Ding, ding, ding. Ouch, ouch. They think, so this is a common tool used by any authoritarian dictatorship, is that centers around the worship of the person in charge, right? And this is true in Saddam's Iraq, Russia, you name it, right? Anywhere where there's a dictator who wants to or is worshipped by the people. One of the most common tactics you see is that very often, almost always, these dictatorships are characterized by vast inequality and a really corrupt bureaucracy, right? Because how do dictators stay in power? They give patronage positions to unqualified people. So your public utilities, your mayor of your city, chief of staff of the army, government contractors are all given to people who aren't really qualified to do it, but are just sort of lackeys whose loyalty is their most important characteristic. What does that mean? That means that for the average person, their lives get progressively worse as their country is progressively mismanaged more and more. Venezuela is another great example of this, right? The state oil company, literally a money printing factory. You just pull money out of the ground and sell it. It may manage to screw it up and run it into the ground. What this means, though, when you have this disconnect, when people's lives get worse, but they need to worship the person in charge, how can you believe the person in charge is infallible if the evidence of your eyes and ears tells you that they're terrible at running a country? The answer is you create this story in which the corruption is happening, is the leader is as unaware of the corruption as the regular people. And that if only you could get the leader to be aware, if the leader could see the level of corruption, he would surely be outraged because he is a true noble patriot, right? He looks out for the common man. And if he knew the common man was suffering under these corrupt leaders, then he would intervene. And this, you can get away with this for a time, but this is usually kind of the end game, right? Because people aren't stupid. They know that, if they can see how terrible things are, then surely the leadership can too. And their unwillingness to do anything about it, or their willful blindness, is in and of itself a sign that they are unqualified to be there. So I can't tell if this is sarcasm or if they really think that if only they could tell Vladimir Putin that there is a terrible injustice occurring in the Russian military, that he would immediately step in and deal with it. The whole brigade is in Russia. Damn. Yeah, fighting without getting paid. That sucks. Fun fact, guys, when I was deployed, actually, there was a brief government shutdown where that is when the U.S. government only funds its essential operations, and processing pay is not an essential operation, which meant that at the time in 2010, 11, it was only for like 2 days. Or I think it was like almost happened. It was like less than a week. So we never actually missed a paycheck. But there was real debate over soldiers being like, hey, if we don't get paid, what will we do? And, the command staff, would come down and say, hey, it doesn't matter if you get paid or not. You cannot refuse to work. But it's like, we're risking our lives. Our families are going to miss rent. Like, we can't get another job. And I was a government worker during the big shutdown that lasted like 3 months. And that was also really, really tough. I was lucky. I had a spouse. We were together. So like I had another income that could cover it. But a lot of families couldn't. And it was a hard spot to be in. So much so that they actually authorized government employees to get side jobs. They authorized them to become substitute teachers. They gave blanket approval to become a delivery driver. Like it was honestly sort of fucked. But you don't say it ahead of time, but also running away to Crimea, not really the right call. Yeah, so his plan to run on the bus to Moscow into Russia, that's not a great plan. They're probably going to find him. His better bet, I imagine, would be to ditch your uniform and just walk off into Ukraine somewhere and try to make it to Ukrainian lines. The problem is, of course, your mom and dad are still in Russia and they are going to punish them for your defection. most important. Oh God, they. Okay, they. Unspecified they giving you advice is a really bad idea. We used to call them barracks lawyers. Barracks lawyers are people who read something in a regulation. They don't fully understand it, but they think they do. And they will tell other soldiers give them advice on what their commander can and can't make them do. Of course, when they explain something to you, it's almost always wrong or divorced from so much important context that leads soldiers to make really dumb decisions. This would be like the person who says, hey, if you get a DUI, you can just step out of the car, chug a beer right there, and then the cop won't know if you're drunk, if you were driving drunk, or if you chugged the beer and that's why you're drunk. Like, you got him, checkmate, law enforcement. That's the sort of barracks lawyer advice that these guys give out. So it sounds like that's the advice he's getting here. Like, just tell the brigade to demand a vacation. Now give me a vacation and followed by dismissal.
So the evidence that Russians fighting in Ukraine purely because of money. No money, no soldiers. Please leave a like under this video.
Okay, definitely. Yeah, here you go. See, boom. Giving him a like. I think I'm subbed on this channel. Yeah, this is good content. And okay, he goes, oh, this is evidence that the Russian soldiers are fighting just for money. Listen, the Russian soldiers are fighting, I think, because they have no choice. Okay. You know, yes, you need to be paid for your work because otherwise your family will starve, and that sucks, right? Anyway, guys, if you want to see me break down some of the edgiest combat videos I can find, the kind that YouTube has censored, you want to become a member of the Patreon. Link is in the description. And thanks to my Lieutenant tier patrons, you guys make this possible. Catch you guys in the next one.